Hello and welcome to GameSack. Now, Bloodstained came out a couple of weeks ago and I really wanted to talk about it. I didn't know if I could squeeze this into an episode sometime way in the future, but I want to talk about it now, so I figured I'd take a good focused look at it here. And if episodes like this do well, maybe I'll do more in the future, but of course if they don't, I'll just crawl under a rock and die. Anyway, without further ado, let's look at Bloodstained, because I want to talk about this. Bloodstained is a 2.5D Metrodvania-style game from Artplay, Inti Creates, WayForward, and a bunch of other companies. But all you need to know is that it was designed and produced by Koji Igarashi. He did Castlevania Symphony of the Night and most of the Metroidvania titles for the Game Boy Advance and Nintendo DS. Making games like this is kind of what he does. But like so many good people, he left Konami to go make his way on his own. And on May 11th, 2015, he launched a Kickstarter to fund Bloodstained. And GameSack was there to promote it on day one. It went on to raise over $5.5 million and was finally released on June 18th, 2019. So here we are. It's on PC, Xbox One, PS4, and the Switch. I elected to get this game on the PlayStation 4, so that's what you're looking at here. Is this game worth $5.5 million of your dollars? You play as Miriam, and she's a shard binder. I'm not going to go and explain the entire story because it is a bit nonsensical, but basically that just means that she can collect shards. You know how in Gyres on the 16-bit Sega Genesis, you can steal weapons with your little thingy thing? Well, this is exactly like that, only completely different. Sometimes, when you kill an enemy, it'll stab you with a shard. Other shards can be found simply by exploring. You can use these to enhance your power in many different ways. For example, there are different attacks and moves that they'll let you do. They also let you summon familiars which will follow you around and help you fight. In addition to this, of course, are your basic weapons that you can find or buy. This goes for armor and hats and whatnot as well. And yes, you level up with experience points. It really is an action RPG in the strictest sense of the term. Oh, and did I mention that if you enter 8 Mega Power as the name of your file when you start a game, you'll be awarded with a GameSack Power Strip as a weapon? I modeled this after the Sega Power Strip that they made so that you could plug a Genesis, Sega CD, and a 32X in all at the same time. What has technology wrought? You can change the name of the file later if you want to, and you'll still keep the weapon. It even has a special attack if you do a fireball motion.
Take this! Take this!
So, now that I've covered the basics, how is everything? Well, it's good. Really good. It plays almost exactly like Symphony of the Night with lots of homages here and there. Of course, it's evolved in several ways, namely the shard system. But you're still exploring a castle, trying to get rid of it, and the demons within. Although Miriam looks sort of funny as she runs around, it all feels really good. The action is very responsive. Unless you have a big heavy sword, then it'll feel slow. However, sometimes you'll need to grind your levels up a bit, especially in the beginning. Honestly, I kind of like doing this, so I didn't mind. But soon after the game was released, an update, version 1.02, was released for the PS4, which made the game a little bit easier in most areas and tougher in a couple of others. Before this update, when you were near death, the entire border of the screen flashed red. After the update, only your life bar flashes and it's accompanied by a quick sound to alert you. This is far better in my opinion than having the entire border flash. Speaking of this update, it introduced a lot of new bugs. At least if you were already running version 1.01 and had saved your game. For me, it reversed the status of all the treasure chests. So every chest that I'd opened was closed again and the ones that I never opened were already open. This was game breaking because I couldn't get an item that I needed from a chest and it's absolutely necessary to advance in the game. As far as I know, this bug only affects the PS4 version. The Bloodstained guy said they couldn't fix it and just told everyone to start their game over from scratch. Well, screw that. What I did was delete the game from my hard drive and reinstall it from the disk. I also disconnected the system from the internet. Fortunately, my game saves were still there. So I continued my game with version 1.00 and got the item. After that, I saved my game and let it update to 1.02. And you know what? It's been fine ever since. Well, actually it did crash once right here. But this was the only time. But if you start a new game on the newest version, you should be okay. It's still not cool that this happened though. So it might actually be a good idea to wait 6 months to a year to play brand new games. They'll also be cheaper if you do it that way. But I am glad that I was able to continue and not have to start all the way over. Another aspect in this game is the crafting. Generally, I don't like crafting in games because it's overwhelming and overly complex at first. But here it's not too bad. You can do simple things like making higher powered potions by crafting versus buying them directly from the shop, which will save you a few bucks. And having enough money can sometimes be pretty difficult. You can sell the shards that you don't use at the store for some pretty good cash though. But you can also craft weapons, armor, and enhance your shards. And you'll definitely want to enhance those shards because they become way more powerful, especially your familiars. You'll often collect shards that you already have and wind up with many of the same shard. For example, one of the familiars is this bloodstained version of the Castlevania Medusa head. He floats around and attacks enemies nearby. By collecting these same shards by the enemies that give them to you over and over again, you can have up to 5 of these fake Medusa heads. And that's a lot better than just one. And not only that, but the more you use them, the more they level up. So that's 3 ways that you can enhance your familiar's power right there. Unfortunately, getting the parts that you need for the crafting can be a chore because they're randomly dropped by certain enemies, so it can feel like the luck of the draw. There's a lot of shuffling menus around, which is never overwhelming, but it can feel like a minor burden at times. Another thing, unrelated, that I don't care for is that you don't get your life back when defeating bosses. You need to run and find a save room. Just try not to take any damage on your way there if you're low on health. And landing from a jump cancels any attack you were trying to do, which is weird because you could do it in other Metroidvanias. Still, overall, the game controls exceptionally well, especially after you get the extra abilities, which makes revisiting old areas lots of fun. It feels mostly very well balanced and rarely too difficult, but keep in mind that I grind a little bit more than most people probably do. I was loving this pretty much the entire time through, and I found it extremely addictive. I missed out on a lot of sleep because of this game, and I even neglected work. I didn't really want to do much else other than play this. I really like the visuals in the game. I didn't keep up with it as it was in development as I wanted to be surprised, and I was. Everything looks really nice, and a lot of soul and talent went into the graphical designs. That goes for the environment and most of the enemies. There's lots of shiny things and shadows and stuff like that which you expect from modern graphics, and I feel it fits in well with other modern games. But this brings us to the crowdfunders. If you pledged a certain amount, you got your portrait in the game. At first I was kinda slightly annoyed with this, but honestly that didn't last long. I began to actually enjoy seeing all of these faces. I really like that each portrait is different. They often attack you, and you know what? They're fun to kill. And sometimes you'll come across giant cats or even dismembered dog heads. I'm wondering if these are representations of pets of some people that pledged a certain amount. They kinda don't really fit in with everything else, so I'm thinking that's probably the case, but at least they're fun to kill. It's not all perfect though. There are a fair amount of sprite swaps, even though this game doesn't actually use sprites. But some areas will have different colored versions of enemies that you've already seen. And there are a lot of cave-type areas which all look like they have similar geometry and textures, just differently colored and light-sourced. It's really not that bad because games do this kind of stuff all the time. There are some cool effects here and there, like cutting someone up behind these doors. Sometimes the frame rate will dip, at least on the PS4. Since PCs are invincible, I assume everything is 100% perfect there since PCs can do no wrong at all. Supposedly, the Switch version runs at 720p and it's locked at 30 frames per second, even in docked mode. They are working on fixing it though. The music is even better. Composer Michiru Yamane did most of the music here, and she's been working with Koji Igarashi forever. She did Castlevania Bloodlines on the Genesis, as well as Symphony of the Night and more. This one sounds a lot like those games. Hell, the music in the Tower of the Twin Dragons sounds like it could be from a modern Ys game. Great stuff all around, and it doesn't disappoint in the least. Even the sound effects are awesome, and I love listening to enemies dying.
Kill those murderers dead!
Or how about your sword familiar, who is extremely angry and really wants to kill your enemies for you? There are a few other minor beefs that I have with the game. Health potions don't help much and you can't carry very many. I imagine this was likely done on purpose because the game might be too easy if they worked better and you could have more. Sometimes you'll get random freezes when you kill an enemy, at least on the PS4, but fortunately it doesn't happen very often. Overall, this is an amazing game and I recommend it for everybody. Well, actually no, I only recommend it for people who like good games. It took me 20.5 hours to complete at 100%. And that's fine, I really don't need it to be any longer. I've got work to do. However, I beat one bad guy when I was at 40% and I got a bad ending. But hey, it unlocked the extra mode. Oh, and if you're part of the GameSat clan, be sure to put in your backer ID number on your save file that you got in a Fangamer email. And be sure to do this before beating the game for the first time. Otherwise, during the credits, the clans appear in random order. You could be waiting 10 minutes to see your name, or an hour and 10 minutes. Yes, the credits are crazy long. You can fast forward them, but be careful. This game was absolutely worth the wait. If you're watching this, I assume you're at least curious about it. If you enjoyed Symphony of the Night or any of the Castlevania games on the Game Boy Advance or DS, you'll love this for sure. So yeah, I definitely feel that Bloodstained Ritual of Night definitely lived up to what I was expecting it to be and hoping it would be. And despite the few buggy problems they've got, especially on the PS4, yeah, it's still definitely worth playing through. If you start a new game right now, I think you'll be okay. And hopefully they'll iron out the Switch stuff soon. But with those $5.5 million, they reached some stretch goals, and one of those stretch goals was Bloodstained Circle of the Moon. So let's take a quick look at that. In 2018, Bloodstained Curse of the Moon was released for pretty much everything. I'm playing the Switch version in case you didn't guess that already based on the scene of me plugging the little card into a slot earlier, but hey, you never know. This side-scrolling 2D platformer is an homage to Castlevania 3. Story-wise, it's a prequel to the main game. I remember being really surprised when this came out. I mean, it was a really cool little bonus. You play as Zangetsu and eventually encounter other characters that join your party. Back then, I had no idea who these characters were, but playing this after playing Bloodstained proper, it's cool to see them in this little game, though they are quite different. This game is no cakewalk, unless you set it on easy, then I hear that it is. It's been a while since I've played this, so I'm definitely not as good anymore. Anyway, after you beat a boss, a character joins your party if you don't choose to kill them. You can switch between them on the fly, and they each have their own life bars and abilities. Each character has their own sub-weapons as well, many of them similar to earlier Castlevania games. I still haven't quite memorized which icon is which sub-weapon for each character though. There are a lot of different icons that you'll be picking up in this game. Generally it controls well, and it does a good job at mimicking that stiffness that the 8-bit Castlevanias were known for. If you like restrictive controls, you'll enjoy this. But the stairs are really easy to get onto and quick to traverse, so maybe you won't like that. The bounce back is here, but you can shut it off if you play the game on easy mode, which I have yet to try. Once a character dies, they stay dead until all of the other characters die. And once they're all dead, you lose 1 life. I think this is a really cool idea. My favorite character is Miriam, of course, and she moves quickly and has a whip. She can use a whip in the main game, but honestly it wasn't very fun there, but it sure is here. The graphics have that fake 8-bit look that so many games seem to try for these days. It also has 8-bit music, and it's really, really good. I just wish it were in stereo. Yeah, I know, it's supposed to be mono like the real NES was. But come on, there's tons of parallax scrolling going on all over the place that the NES or even the Genesis could never do in a million years. So give me some stereo. Overall, this is a fun little diversion and definitely worth having. It's really cool that this stretch goal was met. How about that? Not just one, but two really cool Bloodstained games. Anyway, I'm just really happy that this crowdfunding thing actually worked out for once, because you hear a lot of bad things about Kickstarters and Indiegogos not really delivering, but this one absolutely did. Gives me hope for Shenmue 3, and maybe if this episode is received decently, I'll do another one of these for Shenmue 3, or who knows, whatever random game. Anyway, let me know what you think about Bloodstained, either Curse of the Moon or Ritual of the Night, and in the meantime, thank you for watching GameSag. The hell? Come on, spin! Ah! Stupid PlayStation 1, not even forward compatible? What a waste of money this was back in 1995. Jeez!